Hello. I'm going to do a little something I haven't done in a long time. We're going to do some Writer's Almanac. Sorry, my brain I just went completely blank on it for a moment there. Writer's Almanac for Sunday, March 18th, 2012. It's the birthday of French poet Stéphane Mallarmé, born in Paris in 1842. He supported himself and, once he married, his wife and family by working as a school teacher, though he didn't enjoy the work. He began publishing his poems in magazines in 1862 when he was 20 years old. He regularly hosted salons at his home where writers met to discuss literature and philosophy. He said, quote, "There is nothing but beauty, and beauty has only one perfect expression, poetry. All the rest is a lie." Unquote. It's the birthday of Wilfred Owen, born in Shropshire, England in 1893. Owen was interested in the arts, especially poetry, as a schoolboy, but he didn't do well enough on his exams to get into university. So he went to work instead, first as a lay assistant to a vicar, and then as a tutor of English and French at a Berlitz language school in France. In 1915, he enlisted to fight in World War I. He was wounded in 1917 and sent to Edinburgh to recover from his wounds and shell shock. It was there during his convalescence that he wrote his most famous poems about the war, including Anthem for Doomed Youth and Dulce et Decorum Est. He returned to combat in the summer of 1918 and was killed on November 4th, just a week before the end of the war. It's the birthday of John Updike, who was born in Reading, Pennsylvania on this day in 1932. He wrote more than 20 novels and more than 20 short story collections, but he is best known for his series of 4 Rabbit novels, books about an average middle-class guy, Rabbit Engstrom, who had a boring job and marital troubles. The Rabbit books won many awards, including 2 Pulitzer Prizes. Updike had started sending his stories, poems, and cartoons to the New Yorker when he was in high school. When he was a senior at Harvard, they finally accepted some of his work and even offered him a job. He moved to New York City after he graduated, but soon realized he didn't like living there, so he and his wife moved to Ipswich, Massachusetts, a little town outside Boston. He took a little one-room office on East Main Street above a restaurant and between a lawyer and a beautician. He looked out over the parking lot of the Ipswich Cooperative Bank and hammered away on a manual typewriter. After his death of lung cancer in 2009, many of his neighbors remembered him as a down-to-earth fellow, a participant in several civic organizations, a guy in corduroy trousers who played regular poker with the boys. Others were less forgiving, recalling how he mined the town for its people for material for his explicit 1968 novel, Couples. John Updike said in the New York Times Book Review, quote, "I'm willing to show good taste if I can in someone else's living room. But our reading life is too short for a writer to be in any way polite. Since his words enter into another's brain in silence and intimacy, he should be as honest and explicit as we are with ourselves." Unquote. Today is the anniversary of the Gardner heist, which was the largest art theft in United States history, and it happened in 1990. Why don't I know this? A pair of thieves disguised as Boston police officers, complete with fake mustaches, broke into the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum shortly after 1 o'clock in the morning. They took advantage of Boston's preoccupation with St. Patty's Day activities and told the young guards that they were responding to a disturbance. They spent 81 minutes inside the museum, and they made off with 13 works of art. Paintings and drawings by Vermeer, Manet, Degas, and Rembrandt, including the only known Rembrandt seascape in existence. The thieves manhandled the paintings, sometimes even carelessly ripping them out of their frames. The paintings have never been recovered, and the loss to the museum is estimated at more than $300 million. The statute of limitations for prosecution has now passed, though, and the museum hopes that the thieves will step forward to return the art. Wow, that's pretty ballsy. Has there been a movie about that? That's incredible. That's incredible that they were never recovered. So bright, 81 minutes. Boston police officers. What a boom. Wow. Today is the birthday of George Plimpton, who was born in New York City in 1927. He was the original editor-in-chief of the literary journal, the Paris Review, and remained there for 50 years. He was also a writer of what he called participatory journalism, immersing himself in whatever his subject may be, usually sports, and recounting his experiences from his viewpoint as an amateur insider. Hemingway read Plimpton's 1961 baseball adventure Out of My League and declared it, quote, beautifully observed and incredibly conceived. His account of a self-imposed ordeal that has the chilling quality of a true nightmare, unquote. Plimpton died in 2003. In 2008, his ex-wife and his widow approved a publication of George Being George, an oral biography whose lengthy title reads, George Plimpton's life as told, admired, deplored, and envied by 200 friends, relatives, lovers, acquaintances, and rivals, and a few unappreciative observers. His son Taylor reviewed the biography and called it, quote, an invasive, gossipy, judgmental book, unquote, that, in spite of itself, portrays Plimpton in a favorable light. Here's two poems I'm going to read. One by a gentleman named Wendell Berry. Mr. Berry was born in 1934 in Kentucky. He's an American. He's a man of letters, he's an academic, cultural, and economic critic, and he's a farmer. He's a prolific author of novels, short stories, poems, and essays. He's also an elected member of the Fellowship of Southern Writers and a recipient of the National Humanities Medal. His poem is called Goods. It's the immemorable feelings that I like best. I just destroyed that. I'm sorry. Start it again. It's the immemorial feelings that I like best. Hunger, thirst, their satisfaction. Work weariness, earned rest. The falling again from loneliness to love. The green growth the mind takes from the pastures in March. The gaiety and the stride of a good team of Belgian mares that seems to shudder from me through all my ancestry. Goods by Wendell Berry, collected from Collected Poems, published by North Point Press, 1985, reprinted with permission. And I want to read from Paper Lanterns by my friend Jerry Sloan. A wonderful poem that he wrote called Silence. And underneath Silence is a quote by John Cage saying, there is no such thing. Philosophers and scientists remind us it's only a working hypothesis. Mornings like this, I'm inclined to agree. Our pot scrubber 900 grinding gaily in the background, the sound of traffic rising from the street. Schopenhauer was maddened to distraction by the crack of coach whips. In our time, we long for their quaint charm. Even in a soundproof room, we can't escape the music of our bodies. Faint anthems of the central nervous system, ground bass of the blood, soon mobilize against the silence blooming on a page, filling the vacuum beyond its edge. Silence by Jerry Sloan from his book Paper Lanterns, published by Half Acre Press. The Writer's Almanac, a wonderful short program, only 5 minutes long usually, on National Public Radio. The host is Garrison Keillor. The writers are Betsy Allister, Heather McPherson, and Holly Vanderhaar. The technical director is Thomas Schweitzger. The engineer, Noah Smith. The coordinator, Nick Vetter. Permissions were obtained by Kathy Roach, and the web producer is Mr. Ben Miller. And as Garrison Keillor always ends his talks, be well, do good work, keep in touch.